Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today we're going to work on the vocabulary words and sight words and pictures for first grade journeys, lesson 18. And our anchor text is Where Does Food Come From? Written by Shelley Rotner and Gary Goss. Photographs by Shelley Rotner. For this lesson, you're going to turn and talk. That means I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to think about your answer. Then you're going to pair up with a partner, or you can be my virtual partner. And then you're going to share your thinking out loud in a complete sentence or sentences. So for this lesson, you will need a pencil and a piece of paper or journal page. Then you're going to write your numbers 1 to 8. So if you don't have your pencil and paper with you already, push pause, get your materials, and when you're ready to join me, push play. So after you write your numbers 1 to 8, you're going to write each vocabulary or sight word for each number. At the end of the lesson, you're going to write the word up to 2 more times. In the first column, write the word again, and in the next column, write the word, or you can draw a quick picture or sketch. So here's our learning target. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words from the text. Where does food come from? Your second learning target is I can talk about the important words and pictures. So I encourage you to say your thinking and your thoughts out loud in complete sentences. Success criteria. That means how will I know you're successful at using pictures and context clues to understand the important words from the story or from the text? And how will I know you're successful at talking about the important words and pictures? Well, here are our steps to success. I will, number 1, look closely at each pair of pictures. I will, number 2, say what you notice or see. How are the pictures the same or similar? Turn and talk. Number 3, I will read each word and its definition. And finally, I will 4, write each word 2 or more times and draw a picture for each. Let's go over our turn and talk rules. If you have a partner at home, you're eye to eye and knee to knee. You always face the speaker and look at them. Number 2, first one person talks, the other person listens. Number 3, then the next person talks, the other person listens. 4, do not talk too long on your turn, or your partner will not have time to have a turn. I will ask you these 2 questions. What do you notice or see? And you're going to say, I notice. And then, how are they both the same? And you're going to say, they both. You may agree with me or your partner and say, I agree with you because, and tell me why. Or you may disagree and you can say, I disagree with you because, and tell me why, or your partner. First 2 pictures, what do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice some crackers, nuts, and fruit. In the second picture, I notice a lunch. It looks like a school lunchbox with juice, fruit, and a sandwich. So, how are these 2 pictures the same? They both, well, they both show food. So, for number 1, I want you to write food. 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 Again, for number 1, write food. 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 What is food? Food is what you eat. Nourishment. It is nourishment. Nourishment. It nourishes your body. It gives you nourishment. Food is what you eat. So a synonym or a word that means the same is nourishment. Nourishment. All kinds of food can grow in a garden. All kinds of food can grow in a garden. You could also say all kinds of nourishment can grow in a garden because food gives you nutrients and helps you grow. It nourishes you. How do I use it? Beth served hot food at the party. What is your favorite food? And again, food provides nourishment, which means it helps you be healthy and strong. Food. Next two pictures, what do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice someone in first in line. And in the second picture, I notice someone is showing me one finger, number one or first. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show first. So for number two, I want you to write first, First. 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 First means before all others, to begin. First means before all others, to begin. So a synonym or word that means the same could be to begin. The seeds are planted in the soil first. The seeds are planted in the soil first. You could also say the seeds are planted in the soil to begin. How do I use it? Ruth was the first to lose her front tooth. When you get home from school, what is the first thing you like to do? First. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice dirt and grass and an arrow pointing at it. And in the second picture, I notice an animal who's dug through the dirt next to a turnip. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show ground. 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 Ground is the surface of the earth or dirt. Ground is the surface of the earth or dirt. So a synonym could be dirt. Keep the ground near the plants wet. Keep the ground near the plants wet. Keep the dirt near the plants wet. So, how do I use it? Put the heavy bag on the ground. Or you could say, put the heavy bag on the dirt. What would you like to grow in the ground and why? Or what would you like to grow in the dirt or soil and why? Oops, sorry. So, my question is, what do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I noticed that some of these boxes are checked and filled in and the others aren't. And then here it says, I blank play basketball. And it looks like the boy plays basketball on just these shaded days on a Friday in the month. So not all the time. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show sometimes. Sometimes, that's two words put together. Sometimes. SOME, that's some, times, TIMES. Sometimes. Sometimes means occasionally or not all the time. Sometimes means occasionally or not all the time. So a synonym or a word that means the same could be occasionally, just like I sometimes play basketball or I occasionally play basketball, just on these highlighted days. Sometimes pumpkins grow very big, or occasionally pumpkins grow very big. How do I use it? Sometimes she rides her bike to school. Do you sometimes forget to make your bed? Sometimes. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice two kids under the table. And in the next picture, I notice a dog underneath his or her dog bed. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They both. No, they both show under. So for number 5, write the word under. 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 Under means below. Under means below. So a synonym or word that means the same could be below. Carrots grow under the ground. Carrots grow under the ground. You could also say carrots grow below the ground. How do I use it? The cat is sleeping under the table. What would you do if you found treasure under or below your bed? What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice 3 apples and someone is pointing at those apples. And in the second picture, I notice a boy is holding 4 big books and there's an arrow that is pointing at those books. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show these. Here are these 3 apples. Here are these 4 books. These. 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 These means the ones nearby, or those. These means the ones nearby, those. So a synonym could be those 3 apples, or these 3 apples, those 4 books, or these 4 books. These tomatoes are ready to be picked. These tomatoes are ready to be picked. I could also say those tomatoes. How do I use it? Julio likes to read these big books. Are these your toys? Or are those your toys? So these, These, these. Next group of pictures, what do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice someone is hurrying somewhere. They need to get somewhere fast. And in the next picture, I notice an arrow that's pointing to the right, right after something. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They both. Well, they both show right, R-I-G-H-T, right. And the reason why it's right is because right means immediately or at once. Right means immediately or at once. There's another definition for right, but in this case, it means immediately or at once. So a synonym could be immediately, that means right away, immediately, or right away. So here's right in this sentence. You can pick pea pods right off the vine. You can pick pea pods right off the vine or immediately off the vine. You can take them right off. So there's different definitions or meanings for the word right. And in this case, it means immediately or at once. How do I use it? Terry and Perry played ball right after school. Immediately after school, right after school. When you go to bed at night, do you fall asleep right away? So in this case, it's not left or right, like your left hand or your right hand. It means immediately or at once. Right, R-I-G-H-T, right. Last group of pictures. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice a picture of my daughter and my dog, and my daughter is pointing at the dog. And in the second picture, I notice a person is pointing at me or at you. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They both? Well, they both show your. So, that is your dog, or that is your home, or that is your pencil. Your, Y-O-U-R, your, Y-O-U-R. Write the word your. Your means belonging to you. Your means belonging to you. Your. What will you plant in your garden? What will you plant in your garden? How do I use it? Please put your boots on the mat. What is your favorite game? Your. Now let's review our words and make sure we have written them correctly. And this is also a good time to write your word a second time and draw a quick picture or sketch in the third column. Because the goal is to write the word 2 to 3 times and or draw a picture instead of writing it a third time. Number 1 is food. Food is what you eat. Nourishment. So here's some pictures of food. Number 2, first. First means before all others, to begin. First. And here's some pictures for first. Number 3, ground. Ground is the surface of the earth or dirt. Ground. Number 4, sometimes. Sometimes means occasionally or not all the time. Sometimes. I sometimes play basketball. So, this is a good time to push pause. Make sure you've written all your words correctly. Then write them two or one or two more times. And if you want to write them just one time, then draw a quick picture or sketch the third time. When you're done writing your words and drawing a quick picture, push play. Number 5, under. Under means below. Number 6, these. These means the ones nearby. You could also say those. Number 7, right. Right means immediately or at once. Number 8, your. Your means belonging to you. Your. And again, this is a good place to push pause. Make sure you've written all your words and write them a second time. And you can write them a third time or draw a quick picture or sketch. So if you need to, push pause, and when you're done, push play. Let's go over our learning target. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words from the text. Where does food come from? Number 4, I could teach this lesson. I easily said how each pair of pictures were the same. Would you give yourself a 4? If so, write that on the top of your paper. Or would you give yourself a 3? I was able to say how most of the picture pairs were the same. Or would you give yourself a 2? I was able to say how some of the picture pairs were the same. Or would you give yourself a 1? I was not able to say how any of the picture pairs were the same. All right, it's the end of our lesson. It's time to challenge yourself. You've already written all 8 of your words. It's time to get your crayons or your pencil, if you haven't already, to rainbow write or just write your words up to 2 more times. 1, and then the second time you can write the word again or a quick picture or sketch. Thank you, boys and girls, for going over the vocabulary and sight words with me today. Have a great day.